topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV, where we bring you educational information from top local experts in the fields of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Now sit back and listen to experts in family law, association law, hearing loss, business brokers, home care, along with many other topics. Now here are your hosts, Steve-O and Sophia.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome to another Ask the Expert show where we bring you the top experts in the field of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. You know, we get letters all the time, people going, do you read our emails? Because we get a lot of people going, hey, I'd like to see a show like this, or I'd like to see a show like this. And in our Missouri area, our Tennessee area, we got so many emails and texts from you all saying, how come you don't have a tax relief show? First of all, it's not easy to find a great tax relief expert. There's a lot of companies out there, but we want to always make sure we get the creme de la creme. And we found the most incredible law firm. And I'd like to introduce you. They're new. They'll be with us every month. Let me introduce you to Attorney Lance Drury. Good afternoon, attorney.
Well, good afternoon, Steve. How are you today?
Well, you know, we just survived a hurricane here in Florida, but we're doing fine though. And I told you, I'm from St. Louis, so this is like true to my heart.
Well, we're getting the aftermath. It's raining here today, and the temperatures are in the 60s, and they were in the 90s not too long ago. So we're getting the aftermath of that storm that went through Florida.
Well, we will definitely keep you in our prayers because it was a bad one. We actually had some deaths down here from it. But let's get to the good news. First of all, I got to tell you, we are so happy to have your firm, Lance. Tell us about yourself and your firm.
Well, we're a tax resolution firm. I've been doing this for about 20 years. Before that, I was a public defender, ran 8 public defender offices in Southeast Missouri. Then I went into private practice. But I was in my office late one night, and this gentleman from Colorado was talking about tax resolution. So that got me interested. I went to Tampa, Florida for a seminar, and then I became part of his tax group in Colorado. And it's sort of mushroomed from there. It's been a very good thing for us. It's very similar to criminal defense work. I've always been on the side of the little guy against the big bad government. And I tell people what I do is to save Fay Ray from the clutches of King Kong, with King Kong being the IRS. And that's what we do every single day.
Lance, the IRS are very good at what they do, aren't they? They are collectors.
That is entirely correct. And people that try to do this on their own, that is a big mistake because people think this is easy. When I was a regular small town lawyer, I did 15 hours of continuing legal education a year. Now, every attorney in my firm in Missouri and Tennessee, we do a minimum of 50 to 100 hours or more a year, just keeping up with this. In fact, in November, we have a 3-day webinar coming up.
So you're you're enrolled agents, aren't you?
No, we're attorneys. Attorneys can automatically practice in front of the IRS as well as accountants. An enrolled agent is normally somebody who has to take a test in order to be federally licensed to practice before the IRS.
Lance, I got to tell you, I know that people that get these letters in the mail from the IRS, a lot of them will put it in that drawer and think they're going to go away. They don't go away, do they?
Well, every now and then things fall through the cracks because they're a bureaucracy. There's 25 million delinquent taxpayers. By the year 2032, there's going to be 35 million delinquent taxpayers. So they are bureaucracy. Things get lost. Sometimes things fall through the cracks and we can run out the clock on collections. But for the most part, you're entirely right. You know, a delay is normally not a good tactic with the IRS.
Yeah, it's, tell people, because there's people who don't understand, who've never been through the process before. Tell people what could happen if they do ignore the IRS and not come to your firm.
Well, they can wipe out their bank account. They can take up to 90% of their take-home pay. They can have assets seized. So, it's not a good thing to ignore those letters, particularly when they get nasty. Because if you ignore those nasty letters, eventually they're going to be able to levy against you, which, as I said earlier, means the monies in your bank account are gone. 15% of your Social Security can be taken, and they can take 90% of your take-home pay. They can take 100% of your 1099 pay.
Well, we just got our first text for the show. Milton from Creve Coeur. He wants to know, does your company handle businesses also?
Well, we primarily handle businesses more so than individuals. 70% of our clients, perhaps more, are self-employed. Those are the people that get in trouble because the taxes aren't automatically taken out. And the other problem is a lot of small business owners are good at what they do, but they don't know how to do the paperwork with the IRS. They have problems sometimes knowing how to run the business. There is so much government red tape and regulation. And the last thing they want to do when they get home at 7 or 8 o'clock at night is to go through paperwork. So, yeah, and that's something we want to help people more with in the future. Once we get their problem solved, we want to make sure that they stay compliant. We want to help them know what's the best way to keep their business afloat and running and to stay out of the clutches of the IRS.
Barbara from Ladue wants to know, she said, I read about all these new agents that have been hired. Is it worse now than it has been in the past on them going after people who owe money for taxes?
Well, it has been recently. Between March of 22 and August of last year, there was not active levying from the IRS automatic collection system because they had to divert so much of their personnel to process 21 million plus tax returns.
Wow.
Everything has been turned upside down since the pandemic. But since last year, they have gone after people actively. And in July of this year, when business is normally slow, because people don't worry about their problems during the summer, they want to go on vacation, they want to go camping, they don't want to deal with their problems then. July was a record revenue month for the firm because they're getting all those nasty letters from the IRS, and it's only going to get worse. So people need to take care of their problems now if they have tax problems, because you can't wait till you get wiped out. Then it's even harder. It's going to cost you more time, more money to get your problem rectified. So don't delay. If you get one of those letters, you have to act, and you have to act now.
Here's one from, here's Jack from Knoxville, Tennessee, wants to know, if I haven't paid my taxes in the past 5 years, what can you do for me?
Well, here's the deal. Just because you owe the tax doesn't mean you're going to have to pay it back. 85 to 90% of my clients never pay back the full amount. 10 to 15%, perhaps a little more, never pay a dime. What they won't tell you when you call them up, because if you call them up, they're just going to get you into a full pay agreement. And the reason I know that is people come to me because they think they can do this on their own. They call the IRS, they set up a payment plan, and the first words out of their mouth are, I can't afford the monthly payment. And I go, then why did you agree to do this? And they say, because this is what they told me I had to do. That's not true. They take advantage of lay people because they know that you don't know how to play the game. It is all based on your ability to pay it back. So, I just can't call them up and say, hey, let's make a deal. I'm Monty Hall. It doesn't work that way. It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of time. That's why tomorrow I have an appointment here in St. Genevieve. Then I drive to my St. Louis office, and I have 2 appointments up there. I'm going to work Sunday morning. We have to go through bank statements, credit card statements, debit card statements, financial statements in order to prove to the IRS that you don't have the ability to pay all this back.
Lance, you just talked about the phone, and I want to tell people that, especially business owners who think that they can handle this themselves, try getting the IRS on the phone. And that's one problem you don't have.
No, because now years ago I had that problem, but with their special software now, and I can get through generally in 3 minutes. Sometimes it takes more, but for the most part, it takes us 3 minutes to get through. And I have people who hire me simply because they have tried and they have tried and they have tried to get through to the IRS, and they can't do it. And once they do get through, they get disconnected.
Lance, will you assist people in an audit?
Of course. I have an appointment Monday morning. The woman just called right before I came on the air, who's being audited, has a deadline of October 29th. We do a lot of audits now in the state of Missouri, unlike the IRS, but we also represent people with the Missouri Department of Revenue. And the 2 most common places that they audit are restaurants and convenience stores, because they're convinced all of those individuals and businesses are hiding money from the taxing authorities. So we do a lot of audits. We do a lot of them at the federal level as well. In fact, we have one now in Tennessee. And every 2 weeks, the auditor is going to come in and sit down all day with one of my attorneys. And this is an audit that was just instituted by the Biden administration. It's extremely intense. And this is going to cost the guy a lot of money. It's going to take a lot of time for him, for us. It's the first one of its kind that I've seen. The auditor, in fact, hates it because it consumes so much of his time. But it's a line-by-line audit of the tax return. Most of the audits are not like that. They'll go after a category for expenses such as car and truck expenses or rents or things of that nature. But, this is, like I said, this is the first one we had. This is going to cost thousands and thousands of dollars to this guy. But, there's no way you want to have him do it himself. He could say something that he shouldn't say, and the audit could then go criminal.
I think that's the most important thing, is that people who try to handle it themselves, these agents act like they're your friend. They're very good at what they do, and you can end up saying the wrong thing. I bet you get a lot of clients that did try to do it themselves and made it worse by doing that.
That's exactly correct. And so, I tell them it's like if you're charged with a crime, you don't talk to the cops. Well, if the taxing authorities are coming after you, you don't talk directly to them either. You get an attorney who stands between you and the IRS and who will protect your interests.
Notice we've got this is really good for the first show to have these many questions. We got 2 of them with almost the same question. They want to know about this. Is it really true that you can get people pennies on the dollar? We read about that all the time. Is that really true?
It can happen, yes. Like I said earlier, 10 to 15%, perhaps more, of my clients never pay a dime. And we sometimes get people into low-paying, partial pay installment agreements. But you have to prove to the IRS that your client doesn't have the ability to pay any more of that. Now, you're going to get notices. And most of these are scams. It's an 888 number. There's no physical address. And they'll tell you It looks like an official notice from the IRS, and it'll say we can settle for 10 cents on the dollar. And they know what your liability is if a lien's been filed, because that's a matter of public record. And those guys have no clue. They're just lying to you. They got to do their homework first. They're just trying to get your money. So you have to watch who you hire. On Google reviews, we're a 4.7 out of 5 in St. Louis. We're a 4.9 out of 5 in Nashville, Tennessee. We just opened an office in San Antonio. I got back from San Antonio Wednesday. Things are starting to pick up there. And in April of last year, I was quoted in an article in Forbes magazine. And since last December, I've been featured and interviewed in a number of national publications and magazines. So we're the real deal. I've won a national award for tax resolution. I've spoke across the country, and I've co-authored some books on tax resolution. So you've got the right guy here today, Steve.
You know what I want people also to know, we do a lot of our own background check, and it seems like, Lance, a lot of these national companies, so to say national companies, they have so many complaints against them, and it's mostly customer service. They sign with them, and then they have to keep calling to get information. I know how important customer service is to you.
Yes, and the thing is, I tell everybody there's 3 rules. If you don't hire me, you hire an attorney that does this every single day. Accountants are great with the numbers, but 90% of what they do is tax preparation. It's not tax resolution. It's not dealing with the IRS. And every attorney in Missouri and in my Tennessee office has seen where accountants have given atrocious advice to their clients because they just dabble with the IRS. Like I said earlier, I mean, we spend 50 to 100 hours a year or more. Secondly, go local. And number 3, don't hire one of the big boys. That's who you're alluding to, because a lot of them just take your money and they don't do anything. You talk to a salesman in the initial consult. You don't talk to an actual IRS practitioner. Now, I don't do a whole lot of cases anymore because I have 14 people in my employ. I don't have time because I'm doing all these initial consults. I have to monitor 1,000 cases with my support staff and attorneys. But you got to get professional assistance, and cheaper is not better. If you had heart problems and you needed a heart surgeon, you wouldn't ask how much that you had to pay the heart surgeon. You just want the best heart surgeon you could find. So if you want quality legal representation, you need to come to my firm.
Well, here's a kind of a tearjerker. This is Minnie in Tennessee. She said, I'm on a fixed budget. I'm retired, but I did not file my taxes the last 4 years. Can you do anything to help me?
We can prepare the returns for you, but you have to get them prepared, because the IRS requires for you to be compliant with them to file the last 6 years' tax returns. Now, Minnie, I don't want to scare you, but it is against the law not to file your tax return. The odds are not high that they're going to come after you for that, but it does happen from time to time. But, you know, you have to get those returns prepared and filed because that's the law.
What is offer in compromise?
An offer in compromise is whereby you offer less than the full amount of your tax liability to pay less than the full amount of that liability to the IRS in exchange for having the remainder forgiven. Now, you may or may not be a good candidate for an offer in compromise. People that have a lot of equity and assets are not going to be good candidates. That's something that normally is not considered if you're just looking at some type of installment agreement. But what we're finding out in the Nashville area is that a lot of people do not qualify for an offer in compromise, because if you know anything about how Nashville has exploded, the equity in people's homes there is just skyrocketing because people are moving there from California. It's the place to be now in the Midwest,
Right.
Nashville. And these people from California are offering $200,000 over the listed price for a home in the Nashville area.
Wow.
So everybody's equity is going up, and nobody sells, because then if they want to stay there, they got to pay the same for the new place. So it's just going crazy down there.
This will probably be the last question. The show has gone by so fast. It could easily be an hour show. Fresh Start, is that a real program?
It is a real program. Primarily when it was instituted, it made it easier for them to secure an offer in compromise, because they decreased the multiplier and they made a few other changes so that the acceptance rate went up. But it's basically just a term of art. People think I can call them up and say, hey, give this guy a fresh start. Well, I wish it worked that way. I wouldn't have to work so hard. And
That's the way they make it sound,
still
Lance.
working 7 days a week. But no, it's basically a term of art. You still have to prove to the IRS that your client doesn't have the ability to pay it back. And the offer in compromise is very formulaic. So you can pretty well tell your client before you submit the offer what he is going to have to pay the IRS to have the offer in compromise accepted. But the term fresh start, I think, is a little misleading, because you still have to do the homework to show the client doesn't have the ability to pay.
You know, you've got your Missouri office, you've got your Tennessee office, and your new office in San Antonio. We're running the phone numbers for all those offices on our TV, but for the radio and podcast people, Lance, is there a main number they can call?
There is an 800 number, but I don't know what it is.
I'll give it to you.
I have so many phone numbers, I can't keep up.
We're running them all right now, but it's 888-367-6512.
And the reason, Steve, I can't read that down there is I had cataract surgery a week ago Monday. So this eye is great, but I used to wear glasses. Now I can't see out of this one, and I can't see close up at all. So I like to close this eye a lot, because then I can see real clearly, but I can't hardly do that on this show. So, and then I have and they only do one eye at a time. So a week from Monday, I'll have the other one done.
I'm getting ready to have mine done, so I know. The firm is the law firm of Lance Drury. Lance will be back again with us next month. If you missed today's show, you can go to iHeart, or you can go to YouTube. Lance, what a great job. First show.
Well, that's what I'm here for. And I'm here with a great guy, Steve. Thank you very much for inviting me on your show.
We love having you on our show. We'll see you soon. Thank you so much, Lance.
Have a great day and a great weekend.
You too, buddy.
Okay.
That's attorney Lance Drury, 888-367-6512. Stay with us. We got a great expert coming on. We'll be right back.
K. Bender Rembaum is a full-service community association law firm dedicated to the representation of community associations throughout Florida. On kbrlegal.com, you can learn more about their offices in Pompano Beach, Palm Beach Gardens, Orlando, Tampa, as well as throughout Miami-Dade by appointment. Several K. Bender Rembaum attorneys are board-certified specialists in condominium and plan development law and assist clients with all matters of community association legal issues while keeping them up to date on new developments that affect their associations. K. Bender Rembaum is also a well-known provider of free legal education for managers and board members. Contact Kay Bender Redbaum today by calling 800-974-0680. That's 800-974-0680 to reach any of their locations. You can also visit them online at kbrlegal.com or write to them at info@kbrlegal.com.
And we are back with the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV with your hosts, Steve-O, Sophia, and their expert guests.
We are back. God, we got probably about 3 or 4 emails after we did this first show last month. And people, first of all, were surprised that we read the emails because people have been asking us to do a show on mortgages in California. And listen, you know what? We can't just pick somebody out of the phone book. And we were able to find one of the top mortgage brokers in the state of California. We were so lucky to get them. And what's so amazing, it's hard when you do the first show because you don't know what to expect. But he did such a great job. The name of the company is PB Financial Group. And let's welcome Hoyan. Good afternoon.
Hey, Steve, how are you?
I got to tell you something. You did such a great job. It was like you've been doing this forever, but you know, you really do this forever when you talk to new clients.
I do. Yes. Every day, every time we talk to a new client, it's a lot of education. Mortgage is a big thing for people, and it's their livelihoods, it's their future. So they want to know they're working with somebody that's knowledgeable, that can answer their question. They don't want an iffy answer. They want somebody that's confident in the answers that they're giving.
You know, and I got to tell you, it's so obvious that you love what you're doing. And this is just such an important area because it's such a big expense for somebody.
Yes. I've been in this business for 17 years. We've helped out a lot of people, especially being in the niche product that we are. There's a lot of stories that we have to hear from people to know what their circumstances are, to create a path for their future. Because it's not just their future, it's their family's future, it's their kids' future, it's their investment property. It could be so many different things that are related to real estate. And it is a cumbersome and burdensome aspect because it's just everybody. When it comes to finances, it's very intimidating.
First, let's first of all, because we've got a lot of new listeners and viewers today, tell people about your background and about the company.
Well, we've been in business for 17 years. We do a lot of different programs. We deal with a lot of people that are in some sort of distress, and we try to help them and create a better path for them for the future. We understand real estate and financing is a big challenge for people, and we want to be able to accommodate them and make them feel comfortable as much as possible to get it right and create a better path for their future for themselves and their families.
Last time I learned, I've been doing this now for 13 years, but I learned a new phrase in mortgages, and this is something you do, is hard money.
Yes, sir. Yes.
So what's the difference between hard money lending and, say, traditional bank loans?
Well, banks take anywhere from 30 to 45 days, and they have a lot of restrictions and questions when they do a mortgage and provide financing for people. Hard money is a offset of a traditional mortgage where people have either FICO challenges or income challenges or property challenges, and they need an investor to come in outside of the normal bank forms of financing and require other forms, somebody that's more creative in making their financing solution a reality and push them along to better themselves, that eventually they're going to be able to go into a conventional loan at a much lower rate. The cost of hard money is a little bit higher, but we can make it easier than a bank would provide traditional financing. We do first, second position mortgages where sometimes the banks don't want to do a second mortgage, especially in these times when everybody has a low rate first mortgage. People don't want to touch that. So they come and get a second mortgage, and their blended overall rate of the first and the second mortgage would be much lower than what they would take from a conventional lender right now.
Well, I got to tell you, this show is not a political show, but I got to ask this question because after you did your show, I got about 5 or 6 emails, people asking me a question that I don't want to get it. I don't want to, because I'm not experienced like you are. But, you know, we're really getting close to the elections, and one of the candidates is talking about giving first-time home buyers $25,000. Can you tell us anything about that at all? Will that work?
Well, it depends on what part of the nation you are. You know, if you're in a lower income and lower price point, yeah, it's going to make a difference. It's going to create more demand. But if you're in like Los Angeles, San Francisco, New York, and in a very expensive area, 25,000 is going to be very limited in what you can do. So yeah, it should have an effect in lower price point neighborhoods, but in the higher price point neighborhoods, there's going to be very limited options.
Well, you know, I think the follow-up question was, will that make sellers raise their prices, knowing that a first-time home buyer is going to get 25,000?
I think we are currently and will be in a buyer's market. People that are able to buy and have the means to buy are going to have a lot of power no matter what going in this next year to 2 years. Seller are a realist about what options there are. And if they really truly want to sell, you know they're going to be content with what the market dictates. And market always dictates what price a home is worth. So it's always a good indicator. If there's a high demand neighborhood with a lot of employment, a lot of growth, yeah, of course, seller will increase their prices. But if it's a nominal neighborhood, the growth is stable, then and a seller really wants to sell, they're gonna sell at current given markets.
What type of projects or borrowers are typically suited for these hard money loans?
A lot of different people are suited for these products. I just closed the loan for a borrower who's buying a bank-owned property, probably like 25-30% on the market, but it was not able to get an appraisal. So he was able to put down a good amount of money, like around 25-30%. And we did the loan without an interior inspection. A lot of people are coming to us where they need a second mortgage and they don't want to touch their first mortgage because the rate is like 2 to 3%. So they're willing to take a higher second on a smaller mortgage in second position to achieve what they need to do. A lot of people are finish up construction projects where they don't have money to finish up a project. So they need somebody that's not a bank to give them that money to finish up the project. Conventional commercial loans right now are very difficult to get, all sorts, because of what the Fed has done, increasing the rates. And we're doing a lot of commercial loans on mixed use, warehouses, industrial, apartment buildings. And you know, they have equity. So we're willing to give them that loan. They have the cash flow that services the debt. So we can do that loan where other people and the banks are not willing to do right now.
You know, staying with hard money, I'm sure there's some common misconceptions.
There's misconceptions in every industry. People come to us, they're like, all right, well, here's my deal. Can I get my money by tomorrow? Well, no, there's a process, like with anything. Yeah, we can cut it down from 35 to 40 days to about 10 days, but there's still like a process that we go through. And everybody thinks that we're looking to lend money so we can take over a project. That's far from it. We don't want to own anybody's home. We don't want to foreclose on anybody. If we see a situation where somebody's going to lose their property in foreclosure, then you know what? We don't want that headache. We want a plan for the person that's borrowing the money so they can better themselves and their family going forward. It may be a single family residence. It might be an apartment. It might be vacant land. It could be any kind of property, but it just has to have common sense. We work in the common sense industry.
How does hard money, the lenders, assess like risk and determine the terms of the loan?
Well, we listen to people. We try to achieve what they're trying to do. So if somebody comes and says, hey, I want a 3-year loan, we can do a 3-year loan as long as their plan and exit strategy meets common sense lending. Somebody comes and says, hey, I only want a 6-month loan because I'm going to fix up the property, refinance this and that. Well, we come to them like, you know what? Maybe a 6-month loan isn't the best idea because there could be cost overruns on your construction. There could be delays in refinancing, and you don't want your back to be against the wall. So be like, you know what? Yeah, you want a 6-month loan, but we'll give you a 12-month loan. Have that extra time to do what you need to do, and you're not stressing once you're a month 5 and thinking, oh my God, my loan is due. What am I going to do now? So we want people to have a plan. So we listen to our borrowers, make sure that we understand what they're trying to do so we can give them a program that fits into their life and ultimate goal.
Everybody's different, aren't they?
Absolutely. Every scenario is different.
Not a cookie cutter.
No. That's why if they want cookie cutter, they usually go to a local bank that could usually give them the best pricing. When you want an expert in the industry, that's why you call us, because those guys, the bank, the Wells Fargo's, Bank of America, and other banks out there are very restricted on what they're willing to do. So we open things up and listen to people to give them a product that works for their financial need, and eventually go to a bank like a Wells Fargo, Bank of America, Citi, Chase, or whatever, and get that end financing to put themselves on the right track.
Listen, I love your stories about things you've done with your clients. And you just gave us one. Can you describe a typical borrower and project that the work you did with them, how it helped them?
Currently, we're getting a lot of people that have like some sort of credit restriction, but they have equity in their property. So we help them. We provide them different programs. We even have non-QM loans, which is a different offset of conventional financing, and they're more lenient on their product guidelines. So we put them into non-QM loans so they can do what they need to, plan for the future, and then we put them into a conventional loan.
With the Feds lowering the interest rates, you're going to get really busy, aren't you?
Well, we actually got busy about 2 weeks prior to the Fed actually reducing the rates, because
did people know?
The banks and everybody else in the industry usually reacts to the potential news, the speculation. So the speculation drove down mortgage rates, and then once actually the rate reduction took place, rates started going up on the news. So yes, they went down. They're actually much lower than they were about 6 months ago. But over the last week or so, ever since the Fed did actually announce, rates have slightly gone up. But we do expect till the end of the year for them to drop off again.
Wow, we just got a text from Mexico City.
Wow.
Because they want to know, do you work with investors?
We work with all sorts of people: borrowers, business owners, investors, developers. So yeah, all we work with anybody that has real estate financing needs in the state of California.
I know there's a lot of mortgage brokers out in California. How do you stay competitive, especially when high real estate values and there's so many numerous lenders out there?
We're lucky because word of mouth is the biggest thing, with investors, with borrowers, with everybody. When you do a good job for somebody, they refer you to people. They want to share you with other people, and luckily we get a lot of referrals. We also do some marketing, that we do online advertising. We do written magazine advertising, which funny enough, it's a dying business, but we still get a lot of people that read the newspapers, and we're in the
Wow.
newspaper. So when we get them, we're used to it now, because they're like, hey, we found you in a local paper. I'm like, wow, there's still people looking at that. So we're
That's
there,
amazing.
and trying to get eyeballs. The more people that see you, shows like this. We do other various video introduction and education. And education, when you're educating people, they always want to come to you and work with you and be a part of your network.
What are some of the red flags or warning signs you look for when you're evaluating a loan application?
Foreclosure, people that have defaulted, but we can provide venues for them to come out of that foreclosure or notice a default. But fraud is big in the industry right now. There's a lot of wire fraud going on, so we have to be careful. We don't charge any upfront fees from anybody when we do a loan, and a lot of people in our business that are trying to commit fraud try to get the borrower to pay upfront fees without them doing anything. So we don't make any money until a transaction is closed and dispersed. When the disbursement happens, we get paid. So if there's a time that we put in a transaction and it doesn't close, well, we have to eat that time. So we try, like I said before, we try to listen to people, find what their situation is, so we can know, hey, do we have a plan for this person that they're going to get to close? Because we're going to invest our time, and if it doesn't close, we don't get paid anything.
Yeah, that's amazing. You do a lot of work before you realize the first time.
Absolutely. There's a lot of time that goes into every single transaction. And with the industry that we are in, time is of an essence. So that's the only thing that we get our hats on. Try to be there for people, answer their question, try to get it right the first time around, so we don't have a lot of back and forth.
One of the things what's important with a show like this, and we're reaching so many people, is in the old days, which I'm sure Puyan remembers, people would go to the yellow pages and they would pick out the company who had the biggest ad. It didn't mean they were the best company. It was just who had the biggest ad. Well, yellow pages are basically dead now. And we start seeing people who have the nicest website. And again, that's not the way to choose an expert. But this show is, we want you to know who PB Financial Group Corporation is, who you're going to be doing business with. And you don't have to go look through yellow pages or websites. And we love the fact that your company has been around for so long. Listen, with the problems that this country has gone through over the last 3 or 4 years, and to make it through all that, that tells you something about your company, Puyan.
Thank you. We really try to be there for people. There's months that we lose money, and there's some money that months that we make money. But just being able to educate people and give them that know-how and knowledge, that's key in our industry, because somebody might not be able to want to do something right now, or they don't meet the requirements right now, but eventually they'll remember you as a person that helped them and that was able to answer their questions when they weren't able to do anything, and we just didn't hang up on them. We answered their questions, we helped them, we tried to help them in their path to where they want to go in home ownership or real estate ownership or commercial ownership or whatever they may need to eventually, hey, this is what you got to do, this is what the plan should be for you. And then they start implementing that plan, and eventually when they're ready, they're like, hey, Puyan is that guy that answered my question, let me go to him and ask them some more question. At that point, if they're ready, then we go ahead and do the loan for them. If you don't even want to call us, you want to call somebody local, talk to them. Make sure you feel comfortable with them. If they are giving you iffy answer, they might not be the person that you need representing you with your financing needs. Make sure you have the connection with somebody and they understand what you're going through. A lot of people, they're just yes men. You don't want a yes man in this business. You want to hear, hey, if you got a problem, you want them to be able to have a game plan for your problem. Otherwise, you're wasting 30, 40 days and then they're not closing. Unfortunately, that's a lot of that in the mortgage industry right now.
And when someone walks into your office, you've seen it all. I mean, you're going to be able to tell somebody from experience what you can do for them or can't do for them.
Absolutely. The second we hear their story, we're creating a game plan in my mind. I'm like, all right, this is what we need to do. This needs to be done today. I had a person call me today. They had a free and clear property, but they wanted $150,000 to rehab their home. And they were on disability. The wife made great money, but they had horrible credit. And I asked them, like, why do you have horrible credit? Like, well, we didn't plan on getting a mortgage. Well, that's not the only reason to maintain your credit. You have kids, you have to buy stuff. You're going to need to get a car loan eventually for your kids. So we made a game plan for them to give them the cash out they need to rehab their home. And I'm going to set them up with a credit repair company to better their life. And I told them, hey, I can only do so much for you, but the action has to come from you too. I can only recommend you to so many people or do something for you, but I'm here to supplement you to better your life and your family's life.
Let's give everybody your phone number. We're running it down at the bottom, but for those who are listening on radio or the podcast.
My phone number, direct office line, is 877-700-3703, extension 102. You can talk to me or any of my reps over here. Everything at the end of the day goes through me in my office. I like to micromanage the files that are going here, but that's the best way to do it because it gives everybody the attention they need to make sure that they're getting the best product that fits their family and their needs.
What about, you have a website?
Yes, the website is calhardmoney.com, CALHARDMONEY.com.
Well, I got to tell you, with this hard money, you are so far ahead of the game because we have other mortgage companies in other states that do. This is the first time, well, last month, that hard money was ever brought up. I love what you're doing. Another great job today, and you'll be back again with us next month.
Yes, certainly will be. I look forward to it.
Stay safe, and we love having you, Pujan.
Thank you very much, Steve, for having me. Have a good week. Thank you.
Too. And that's it for us today. We'll be back again next week. See, we read your emails. You wanted a mortgage broker, and we found a great one. We'll see you next week with more Ask the Experts.
Thanks for tuning in today to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. Tune in next week and every week to hear more from our experts on personal injury, insurance, air condition repairs, estate planning, Medicare, and many other topics in the areas of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. See you next week.